Welcome to the Ad Nauseam podcast, where classical gourmands everywhere can finally get their fill. Join us for a delectable discussion of Greco-Roman civilization stretching from the Minoans and Mycenaeans through the Renaissance and right down to the present. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are your hosts, Dr. David Noe and Dr. Jeff Winter.
Welcome to Ad Nauseam episode 69. It's a chilly evening here, isn't it, Dr. Jeffrey T. Winkle?
It's chilly outside and in here.
It's chilly in here?
It is, yeah.
So my name is Dr. David C. Noe, just like it was last time. And this is the Ad Nauseam podcast where we give classical gourmands, what?
Everything they could ever hope for.
Everything they could ever hope
Yes,
for.
yeah. Tasty dishes, morsels.
Served up,
Yep.
Appetizers, entrees, a little bit of dessert thrown in at the end.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice and hot, unlike the vomitorium right
That's
at this
right.
present moment. Yeah.
And so you're doing well?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying that. I'm on a holiday break here.
A little bit of a break?
Yeah.
And
So it's been nice, just kind of hanging out at home and
it's a big bag of Twizzlers?
yeah. Oh man, on the couch.
Keeping the fiber high?
That's right. Exactly right. Yeah.
Very good. So Jeff, we got to get to a shout out, but what's the theme? What's the topic tonight?
We're talking about children's books in Latin.
Children's books in Latin.
Yep. With a little bit of, I think this will probably come out post-Christmas.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit after Christmas.
But with a little bit of a holiday theme, we're going to be looking at the Dr. Seuss's famous Grinch story
Right.
in Latin.
Yes.
But we're also talking broadly about children's books in Latin broadly, right?
Yeah, we got a big stack of books here. We have everything from Winnie Ille Pu to a couple of J.K. Rowling titles.
Yep.
To Walter Canis Inflatus.
What?
Stay tuned.
Scandalous.
If you want to know what that one means. We've got some Charlotte's Web. We really are running the gamut, aren't we?
We are. We hope to dip a little bit into each of them and see what we think.
All right.
Yep. So our shout out, why don't you take the shout out this
Yeah, so this
today?
is from an old friend, Elizabeth Lane, and Elizabeth lives in Leesburg, Virginia. My family and I have known Elizabeth and her family for more than 20 years.
Wow.
And she writes, my classics education, if you can call it that, consisted of 2 years of Latin in high school, the most memorable part of which was a, quote, Roman banquet in which we first-year students got to be slaves, clad in burlap sacks.
Is that historically accurate?
I don't think so. And cook dinner for and serve the older students and parents before being sold at auction.
So they had to make a dinner and then get sold?
That is brutal.
That's brutal.
Yeah, I think burlap was invented by Sir Edmund Burlap in the early 1820s.
Right, yeah.
Mostly for storing potatoes.
Exactly right. So they're fudging the.
They took some liberties.
Yeah, right.
But Elizabeth says, currently I am a suburban homeschooling mom who likes to read everything from Jane Austen and David McCullough. You know David McCullough?
I do.
American historian?
Yes, I've read a number of his books and like them very much. Yeah,
Very nice biography on John Adams.
yeah, that's one of
If I'm
the
not
one I've read.
mistaken.
Yep.
She also likes cookbooks and juvenile fiction. My own shout out, clever Elizabeth. Listen how she's sneaking this in here.
What's this? What do we got here?
My own shout out to Gary D. Schmidt, whom I first learned about from our podcast.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Excellent. We're opening doors.
It's like a podcast within a podcast within a podcast.
like one of those Russian dolls.
I knew you were going there. She says, I first heard about Ad Nauseam from Tara Noe, that would be my wife, who sent me a link to the Susan Wise Bauer episode because it related to homeschooling. Not having a passion for the classics may make me an atypical listener, but I think almost anything can be interesting if it is well presented. Oh, that's ironic. I flubbed that. And the Ad Nauseam podcast does that. I have been noticing and understanding more classical references in what I read.
Oh man, that's so great to hear. That someone who had two years of high school Latin only remembered the burlap auction.
Yeah, what a miserable way to remember Latin.
but still likes the podcast. Still is finding stuff worthwhile and fun, and she's a fan.
Yeah, we're so grateful. So thanks, Elizabeth, for listening and putting up with our antics each week.
Yes.
We're really grateful for that.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff, you have the Ope quote.
I do have the Ope quote, an interesting choice for an Ope quote.
I'm sensing some hesitation.
I am, yes, but just a reminder to the viewer and the listener that the opening quote isn't always something that we necessarily agree with.
Right.
It's to start the conversation.
Right, just like on the Twitter, right?
On the Twitter.
On the Twitter, they say retweets do not equal endorsements.
Exactly.
The Ope quote does not equal an endorsement.
Exactly right. So there's the caveat here. So this comes from a certain Mark Walker, who translated. Do you know the year this came out? It's fairly recent, isn't it?
It's a decade. It's a
Oh,
decade.
it's that
now.
old already?
Yeah, I wish it were longer.
But a Latin translation of Tolkien's The Hobbit,
Right.
which he entitled Hobbitus Ille. I already have a problem with that. We'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
But this comes from his introduction.
Okay.
And we'll see how this plays out.
All right.
So he writes, "There is, as anyone who has taken the trouble to study Latin knows, a curious gap in the available reading material. On the one hand are simplified stories for classroom use. On the other, the glories of high Latin literature, but remarkably little in between. What is there for the intermediate reader who is tired of the textbook but not quite ready to grapple with the stately poetry of Virgil or the grand rhetoric of Cicero?" Quite a lot, I would say.
There is quite a lot.
Yeah.
But it's still a decent question.
It is.
I'm with Mr. Walker thus far.
Thus far. Okay. All right. He goes on. What for the accomplished reader who wants to escape from ancient Rome's marbled halls from time to time?
Boo. Now he lost me.
Really? That did it? The marbled halls?
Well, what's wrong with the marbled halls of ancient Rome?
Well, he's not saying anything's wrong. He's just, if you want to step out into the alley every once in a
Okay,
while.
all right.
Okay.
For a smoke, is that what you're saying?
Something like that, or Twizzler.
Apuleius.
Right. What for the reader who wants to just read Latin, the very idea for fun? This is where the Latin Hobbit comes in. It is nothing more or less than a novel, but a novel now in Latin. Which is to say, it is a Latin text whose principal aim is to be read solely for the pleasure of reading, not one to be studied with the aid of copious editorial notes or labored over in order to glean hard-won quotations for an essay assignment. Reading for pleasure is a rare experience for Latinists. True?
No.
No. Who, in my opinion, deserve to enjoy themselves as much as anyone else.
Well, he's set up a bit of a false dichotomy, right? He's set up on the one hand, there are those who really can't read Latin for pleasure because they need copious notes and stacks of editorial helps and translations and so forth. They can't read for pleasure.
Yeah.
And there are people who really can, as difficult as it may seem. So that's on the one side. And then on the other side is those who can, just read because they want to. And he's trying to hit that mark.
Right. Yeah, no, I thought it was interesting because as I was thinking about this, and I admit I don't know a ton about the Latin books for kids,
Right.
but it struck me as that it would tend to kind of fall into two camps. And one, it would be used as a classroom thing to kind of to further a student's knowledge, or two, it's kind of gimmicky.
Yes.
Right? It's something that somebody might have on their shelf but never open,
Yes.
and have it for the novelty of it. And he seems to be striking at kind of a third way that no, this is Latin you can read not because you're a student and
Right.
not because it's a gimmick, just because it's for fun. And so I thought that's interesting in and of itself, though I disagree with a lot of what he's saying here.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good way to start. That's a good way to launch us into this particular episode.
Yeah.
And what we'll find when we get a little bit further down the road later in the hour, or the 2 or 3 or 4 hours that this episode takes. You got any plans this evening?
No, I'm not going anywhere.
You're here for the long
haul.
haul.
Big time. Yeah.
Is that the quality of Latin and the variety of offerings is pretty great, right? The quality of Latin is great. No, I'm trying to say the Latin varies in quality considerably.
Yeah.
In this particular genre of kids' books.
Okay,
And
okay.
translations, and they're all over the map.
Yeah. All right. So what are we giving the audience tonight?
Well, we're going to give them a close look in the first portion of the show, before the ads, at Quomodo invidiosulis nomine Grinchus Christi natalem abrogavarit, which is how a certain meanie invidiosulis named Grinch stole Christmas.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to be reading a little bit of the Latin, and Jeff's going to be reading for us some of the English translation. We'll
Yes.
just talk about some of the choices made by Terence and Jennifer Tunberg, who are the translators of this brilliant kids book.
So just from that adjective,
Yes.
we were talking just before the show. You think this is very good Latin?
This is superb.
Superb Latin.
And in fact, this book, I understand, has sold extraordinarily well for Boccesi Carducci, which are the publishers, who is the publisher, Wakanda, Illinois. And it has sold really, really well, primarily because people see, right, this is how the Grinch stole Christmas. I know that story. I love that story. I love those illustrations. And then they buy it and they think, because it's a kid's book, the Latin must be correspondingly easy, which is not true at all.
No, and my sense is that's the same case for a number of these books.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very difficult to translate some of these ideas into another language, right? Especially the more idiosyncratic and peculiar an author is.
Right.
Maybe this is going too far afield, but I went through a stage where I read a bunch of Russian literature, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I was told by those who know, you can't read Dostoevsky or some of these others and really appreciate the genius of what they've done unless you read Russian.
Yeah.
Which I understand is incredibly difficult to learn.
That's my understanding as well. But I think that's a general truth for everything.
Well, I think
there's always a loss, right?
For sure, there's a loss, but I'm thinking that it might be greater in some languages than others, right? So I can read some things in Spanish, not especially well, but I think I can kind of catch a little bit of it.
Yeah.
To go to something like Russian, ooh.
I think it probably has a lot to do with kind of the cultural distance as well, right?
For sure.
Right. So, I mean, reading something translated, say, into English from Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be extraordinarily more difficult than going from, one Romance language to another.
Yes, that's a good point.
Okay.
So maybe the reason that I found the Spanish easy is because it's a Romance language, right?
Yeah.
It's so similar to Latin.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you sometime about if you have a favorite translator of Dostoevsky, because I went to a similar. I went through a similar phase.
I think the name is Magershak.
Really?
Magershak is
okay.
the one, and I love those novels. They're just riveting, and there are classical elements in there too.
Without a doubt,
the femme fatale.
Sure.
But I was told, look, you're really not getting anything of the author's poetry and beauty and style because it's in English. Right?
So did you run out and pick up teach yourself Russian?
No,
it didn't go.
No, I was daunted. I was pretty much turned away. So we'll hold this up here. This is the book. You can see it, viewer. Komodo invidioslus nomine Grinchis Christi natalam abrogaverit. How a little meanie, invidiosulus, that's a diminutive, right? And invideo means to envy.
Yes.
Right? Invideo means to cast the evil eye on
yes.
someone, to envy them, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a great way to translate the word Grinch. Right?
I was actually wondering about that because I looked at that title and I want to ask you, invidiosulus, why do you think that's necessary here? Why not just nomine Grincus?
Well, because the word Grincus or Grinchus doesn't mean anything.
So you need that extra thing to unpack that.
Every translation is an interpretation, and I would say this is a particularly sophisticated and accurate one.
Okay.
He could have left it out. I mean, Terence and Jennifer, they could have left it out and just said, Komodo Grinchus, Christi natalam abrogaverit. But I think the invidiosulus, it's descriptive.
Okay.
And if anyone has ever looked at early modern works in Latin, I'm talking about things from the 16th and 17th centuries. They're primarily theology written by Protestants and Catholics alike. The titles are enormous in length, and they're highly descriptive.
Okay.
You remember when we made fun of De Rerum Natura, right?
Of course.
The nature of things,
yes.
right? That's a relatively short title. I mean, it's an incredibly short title. These early modern titles, they can be literally 20 to 30 words in length.
So the Tunbergs are they're taking their cue from that.
I don't know if they are exactly, although they're scholars of the Renaissance. They know Neo-Latin extraordinarily well.
Yeah.
I just mean more along the lines of this is not an unusual title, right?
Right.
They tend to be very descriptive in Latin.
Which
is one of the reasons that I like Latin titles.
Yeah.
I want to know what's in there.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a really interesting point. I think a trap that I think many students and certainly myself fall into is we tend to treat the Latin language as kind of this monolith, right? That that's thousands of years old and lasted for hundreds and hundreds of years,
right?
And kind of treat it as if it never changes, right? And so, I mean, one of the questions if I thought about like approaching a project like this, would you pick an era? Would you pick a kind of a style of Latin from an era or are you just kind of using a dictionary and trying to render the best meaning for whatever you're trying to say?
Yes, which you certainly can't do word by word. You have to do it according to sense.
Yes.
Which is what we'll see in just a minute, for sure.
Great.
So we've got the title. Then there is this subtitle, right? Qui labellus est a doctora Seuss primo Anglicae compositus, right? A little book which was first written in English, Compositus primo Anglicae, by Dr. Seuss. And then I love this other little subtitle, which is added by the Tunbergs.
Yeah.
At nunc quod vix credas in sermonem Latinum a Gonevera Tunberg iuante Terentio Tunberg conversus. And now, you can hardly believe it, quod vix credas, translated conversus into the Latin language by Jennifer Tunberg with some help from Terence Tunberg.
Excellent. Now, my only change there, I might have, instead of the quod vix credas, maybe put a mirabile dictu.
Mirabile dictu.
Yeah,
amazing to say.
Right.
But they're humble.
Yes.
Right. So they're not going to say, we've done something extraordinary, but they really have.
Yeah.
They have really done something that is It's incredible.
Excellent. All right, so we want to read a little bit?
Yeah, let's read a little bit.
I got my English translation.
All right.
I got the classic Seuss version here.
So you got the easy job, you might say.
Yes, exactly.
Of course, people have high expectations for you because they've heard this.
They've heard
the English version so many times.
Okay, so there's a lot of pressure on me.
Well, there is some pressure, right? If I mess up the Latin, which I no doubt will at some points, who's going to notice?
All right.
Okay, so should we start with the Latin?
Let's do it.
Okay, Laetuli, Laetopoli Florentes, Festo Christi, Natalicio, valde delectati sunt omnes ad unum.
So every who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot.
That's it?
That's all I got there. I mean,
okay.
Right? I mean, is it? No, so how's this? Is this a 1-to-1?
No, it's not.
Okay.
We have the Laetopoli, Laetuli, the happy little people.
So those are the who's.
That's right, because Laitos is the adjective Laitos haum that means happy, right? Then there's the verb Laitor, Laitari, to rejoice.
Yeah.
It's in the Orberg text, the great LLPSI. So the Laetuli, Laetopoli Florentes. The ones who are doing well, they're flourishing. One of my favorite words is, Florentes, down in Whoville, Laetopoli. Happy town.
Right.
Happy town.
That's it. It's an interesting choice.
Yes.
Right. So rather than using some form of quote,
right,
the who's.
Yes.
I mean, that wouldn't work.
No.
So you have to choose something.
You got to choose something that captures the meaning, right?
Yeah.
You're not translating word by word.
Right.
I think it gets it, right? I think it really gets it. Festo Christi natalicio valde delectati sunt omnes. So all of them were thrilled, delectati sunt omnes, valde delectati. They were very thrilled, Festo Christi natalicio, by the birth festival, right? The holiday of Christ, Christmas, all down to a man, ad unum, right down to the last person.
Gotcha. All right. So every who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot.
That's right.
I noticed a bit of an irony here.
Okay.
One is that I think we've talked on the show about how Latin compared to English is a much more efficient language.
Yes, here we go.
Right. So Dr. Seuss in this case is a lot more efficient than the Tunbergs.
Yes.
Right.
And that's because it was written in English first.
Okay.
That's the key.
Okay, I gotcha. So if you're going back the other way.
Right. And also think about how unusual Seuss's opening sentence is. Every who down in Whoville. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. You experienced anything like that in English conversation?
Very rarely.
It's unusual, isn't it?
Right.
So had it originally been written in Latin, it would presumably be more compact.
Right.
But now that we have to go from a dense English meaning, a deceptively simple English meaning, into Latin, it takes a little bit of effort.
Right. So I also note that the translators here have chosen one not to attempt the iambics of Seuss.
No, not here.
And they've discarded the rhyme.
Yes.
So we're really going after we're going to find Latin to really kind of tease out the sense of what Seuss is saying.
Yes. So I would liken it to what happened in the Renaissance, early modern period. I like to, I teach some Homer. And when I'm studying, say, the Iliad, as I have been doing recently, I often like to look at Latin translations from the early modern period because it's easier than just looking at an English translation. It gives me more joy. It's also not cheating in the same way. There was a man named Samuel Clarke, and he translated all of the Iliad into Latin because he had been hired to teach the son of some prince, and of course to teach him Greek. Now, the son knew Latin but didn't know Greek. So Clarke said, well, I'll just translate the Iliad into Latin.
Just quick a sec.
Yeah. And of course, not all of his choices are, ones I would have made. But it's similar to this, right? It's not a verse translation. It's here's what it means in the best Latin that I can put together.
What year are we talking? What era?
This is early 18th century. I think 1720s or so. Early 18th century.
And this text is is available. And
we should probably talk about it sometime.
Sounds really interesting.
There are actually dozens of those that have survived.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Quite common. Should we go on?
Please.
All right. You want to do the English first?
I'll do the English first.
All right.
And again, just at a glance, we're going to have a similar kind of issue with lots of Latin. And
Okay.
But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, here we
All
go. At pro dolor in loco haud longe laetopoli ad septentrione sito habitabat in vidiosulus quidam nomine Grinchus qui festum illud omni nove menterque respuebat.
And that that correlates to those short 3 lines I just read. Yes. Okay.
Is that all right?
That's
You got a problem
fine.
with that?
That's fine. I still love reading Dr. Seuss. Even as my children, even if they're older, they will request it. And it's so much fun to read with the rhymes and the rhythm.
It is.
So it's.
You saying this has sucked the fun out of it?
I'm not saying that at all. It's just it's so radically different.
It is different. Yeah. We can go on later in this episode to Catus Petasatus,
which does do the rhymes and the iambics.
It does.
Yes. Yep.
Yes. And it also is brilliant. Or Wirent Owa, Wiret Perna, right? The eggs are green, the ham is green. Green eggs and ham. That's also written in brilliant, translated in brilliant iambics by the Tunbergs.
Oh, the same crew. Oh, okay.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Shall I give a little more lengthy, prosy translation of what we have
Yeah,
here?
would you?
Yeah, so
Yes.
the ot prodolor. Well, ouch, that's terrible. In a place that's not too far from Lytopoli, right? In a place not too far from Whoville, situated to the north, ad septentriones, there was living habitabat, a certain greedy, envious, nasty individual. We're talking about the Grinch, not my co-host. Invidiosulus, nomine Grinchus, who respuebat, who rejected or spit out that holiday, festum illud, omnino vehamenterque. He spit it out entirely and with great prejudice.
Excellent.
So that is not a very memorable, flowing English translation.
Right.
It does capture the meaning, though, incredibly well.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that I don't know how many Latin teachers might have used this text in class, but I think this would be a great exercise.
It would, but
right?
they're in for a nasty surprise.
They are, but I mean, if they read the very well-known Seuss
Yes.
version and they have a sense of what it means, and then to go to that and unpack it, you've already got kind of a head start. Right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and so it makes what's very sophisticated in some ways difficult Latin
it is
a little bit easier to approach.
Right. Well, when I first picked this up 20 years ago, I was just about finishing my PhD. So compared to people who don't know any Latin, I knew a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't really know enough to read this comfortably. I mean, this was challenging.
Yeah.
And I was in for that kind of a surprise.
Right.
Which is. It's going to be Seuss level Latin. No. It's sophisticated.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
Yep. How about we have a little more of the English?
Okay. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small.
Ah.
All right.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Here we go.
I see a chunk coming.
It is 9 lines.
Oh, man. Okay.
Non tantum die sipsa sed etiam tempora omnia quae Christi natalem, aut ante cedebant, aut sequebantur, in vidiosulo nostro odio erdrant maximo. That's the first sentence.
Wow.
Aga nuncam abo nulli me erdrogarda, quadra grinchus, ille tale modo se gesserit. Nemo precerto consuetudinus eis causam scit, fortassa mentis haud omnino erdrat compos. Perhaps he was entirely crazy. So that's that. Perhaps fortassa calcea mentis vexabatur angustissimis.
Oh, there's the tight shoes, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe he was being harassed by his extraordinarily tight sneakers. Quibus pedes eus crudelitur cruciabantur, by which his feet, here's a really prosaic translation, forgive me, not the Latin, but mine, by which his feet were cruelly being tortured. Sounds like a Latin high school exercise, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I like it.
No, not Tunberg, but my rendition.
Yeah.
Quis sciat, who knows? Sed nisi fallor, but if I'm not mistaken, vera simila est in idioslo nostro cor fuissa plumbeum.
So what do we got there? So that's the 2 sizes too small.
Well, yeah, that's the, but if I'm not mistaken, his heart, the heart that belonged to our Grinch in Vidioslo Nostro was very much like, very similar, plumbeum.
Plumbeum?
I can't remember now. I'll have to check after if it's plumbeum or plumbeum. I think I'm going to go with plumbeum.
Okay, what's the difference there?
Well, it's just the quantity of the penultimate syllable.
Okay.
That is, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
I got you right. So,
but it means lead.
Lead,
right?
so he's got a lead heart.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's got a heart that's just like lead.
Lead. Oh, that's so interesting.
It's a great translation.
It really is.
It really, really nicely captures the idea. But it's not English, obviously.
Right.
Should we take a couple more pages?
Let's do a couple more pages.
All right.
This is interesting. All right. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm-lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath.
That's it?
That's it.
You're done.
I'm done.
Okay, here we go.
All right, take it out.
Said, ut recipsa se habebat, sive corda aegro sive calcea mentis invidiosulus magis afflictabatur, domi Christi natalis pridie, manebat inimicitia erga laetulos incensus, e spelunca tenebrosa in qua domicilium habebat exile, invidiosulus noster fronte maletiose contracta laetopulum infrasitam conspexit. Ubi splendebant multae fenestrae lucernis lucentibus luminatae, sat bene intelexit Grinchus noster omnes illic laetulos, insertis whisky suspendendis tunc diligenter ac sedulo versari.
Wow.
Yeah. It takes a lot of Latin to capture some of these dense ideas, especially since I would say the vocabulary being used here by Seuss is not the most common Latin vocabulary.
No, he's constantly making up new words.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and right. So how do you do this?
Right, rife with neologisms.
Right.
So you have to have what are called circumlocutions, right, or paraphrases.
Yeah.
You have to a roundabout way of describing something.
Right. Yeah, and I think the fact that it takes so much Latin here to kind of unpack these ideas, I think is a testament to kind of Seuss's genius.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
We'll just look at a couple lines here, but e spelunca tenebrosa, from his shadow-cramped lair, his cave, e spelunca tenebrosa, in which he was carrying out his domicilium exile, right? Our Grinch, invidiosulus noster, now we have an ablative of description, fronte contracta, with his forehead, his brow furrowed, but it's furrowed malitiose, right? A nice adverb that means filled with malice or
wickedly.
Wickedly, right? He looked down upon Whoville, right? Like topulum conspexit. Then we have where the many windows were gleaming and they were illuminated with their shining lanterns, lucernis, lucentibus, and sat bene intellexit Grinchus noster, etc.
What does they do for mistletoe?
Mistletoe is insertis whisky suspendendis.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah,
right?
it's the woven.
That's right. Yep, the woven.
That's the wreath, right?
Yeah, and the whiscus is the particular ivy or herb that hangs down, and it's suspendendis hanging there, and he didn't like it.
He didn't like it at all.
No, he did not.
Boy, yeah. We never get kind of a backstory, do we? We never
to the Grinch.
How the Grinch became the Grinch. Right?
Well,
how he wound up in
Mike
that cave.
Myers tried, right? And there were some terrible movies and
I heard
terrible
that was
books.
just awful.
I haven't seen any of them. Have you seen any of them?
No. And I've tried to steer my children away from them.
I think that's wise because some things just don't translate to the screen.
No, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to think of there've been lots of kind of translations of Seuss to the screen. Some of them hit, but I think a lot of them just can't capture the unique.
It's special.
Exactly. Yeah.
Respect the boundaries of the genre. Should we have another page?
One more page. Yes,
All right.
a page. So
now maybe we ought to pause, if I may.
Yeah, please.
And I think that we had some Christmas music at the beginning of this episode.
Yes.
By the fabulous Mr. Jeff Sheets.
Yes.
Who provided some great Christmas music for us a couple of episodes ago.
I remember.
But the listener, the viewer might be thinking, what? Christmas is over. Why are they doing this?
Yeah. Lame.
Yeah, they're probably thinking that. But isn't it, we're just trying to milk this, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe the Grinch stole your Christmas a little bit. No, I don't mean yours.
Yes.
Yours was all filled with Twizzlers and Asterix and...
That's right. It was,
and so forth.
Yes, it was exactly. It was magical.
It was magical.
Yeah. But we recognize that, not for everybody.
Right. So this is to help you bring you back down to earth a little bit.
Gotcha. I like that.
Okay.
Right.
Let's move on then.
All right. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow's Christmas is practically here. And then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming.
You done?
Well, there's a little bit that kind of...
okay.
It's the next page, but I'm stopping.
Wait.
All right.
Okay, so we have tum fremens invidiosulus e mihi inquit tibialia suspendunt cras certo certius Christi natalis adveniat fere iamad est. So then the Grinch, growling, fremens. So this is the same word that you can use of a lion, right? Leo fremet, to roar, to grumble, to growl. It's an animal sound.
Yes.
Each of the animals in Latin, make their own sound.
Yeah. Oh,
Yes. So lupus, what does the wolf say? Ululat.
He ululates.
Yes, the wolf howls.
Yeah.
And the sheep, the ovis, balat.
Is that really?
Baladra. Yes.
That's a Latin?
Yes, it's a Latin. You think I'm just making this up?
Maybe a little bit.
No. And the sheep bleats, and the dog, the canis.
Yeah.
Canis latrat.
Latra. Okay,
Bow bow. I'm not kidding. Roman dogs said bow bow, right?
Bow bow?
English dogs say woof woof.
Right. I've never heard dogs say bow wow.
You have never heard them say bow wow?
No.
Well, the Roman dogs were smarter, I guess. They say bow bow.
They would enunciate.
Yeah,
okay.
so ovis balat, canis latrat, bos, right?
The cow.
Muget.
Muget. Yeah, okay.
The cow moves.
Moos.
Muget.
Right.
It's just right there. The awis, pipiat.
Yeah.
Chirps.
Beep, beep.
Yep. And the Grinch, fremet.
Fremet.
Yeah. He says to himself, I mihi inquit tibialia suspendunt. They are hanging their stockings.
So tibialia?
Tibialia, right. So if you think anatomically for a moment, this shouldn't get messy. The bone in the lower leg is the tibia.
Tibia.
Right? It's also the Latin word for flute.
Right, that's what I think. I saw that too, that they're hanging their little flutes.
No, well, they're socks,
Okay,
right? The thing that covers up, the lower part. Cras, tomorrow, certo certius, more certain than certain, Christmas will come. Christi natalis adveniat. In fact, it's almost here. Fere jamad est. And he doesn't like it.
He does not like it.
Oh,
He's
does
so
not.
unhappy.
That's right. Can you read just a little bit here before we turn the page?
Oh, yes. For tomorrow he knew.
Yes, and that has been rendered by the Tunbergs brilliantly. Nam agnoerat Grincus ille. For that Grinch, he knew.
He knew.
And then we turn the page.
We gotta do a little bit more here. Here we go. This is good.
It's getting wild, isn't it?
All right. Now we're down in Whoville. He knew all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. And then, the noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise. This is something that I have in common with the Grinch in my household.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
It's
yeah.
chaos, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is. I'm feeling very Grinchy.
Have you put on your Christmas list Bose noise... No, how would I say
The
this?
noise-canceling headphones?
Nose-canceling headphones. Whew.
Yeah, I do have a set of those.
You do?
Yes, but
And?
I constantly leave them in my office.
Oh, nice job.
So they don't do any good.
So the noise is not all
And
canceled.
the times I've had them home, I slip those on. It doesn't make my wife very happy because she's the one who has to deal with
She's
everything.
left with all the noise.
She
Now,
is.
what's on the banner at the top of this page?
It says Mary, Mary in the Seuss, in the English translation.
Yes, and in the Latin we have litomony, which is you ready for this?
Yes.
It's a second plural, present imperative passive from the deponent verb litor litari.
So it translates actively
As
be happy.
rejoice, be happy, be happy.
as you would in Laitapuli.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this is a good illustration here of an important point. The English idiom is to use an abstract noun, or I guess an adjective here, which is just describing what people should feel like.
Right.
Merry, merry.
When we say Merry Christmas, we're saying be merry this Christmas. Right.
The Latin uses a completely different idiom. It uses an imperative.
Mm-hmm.
So students are often asking me how to say things in English. How to say things in Latin? How do I say surprise, for example? Mm-hmm. Well, you can't just pick a one Latin word that maybe means surprise, because you have to have the context. Well, what is it saying? It means, here I am, I'm shocking you, you didn't expect this.
Yes.
Something like that. Which is
what would you do there? I mean, would it
for
be
the word surprise?
Would it be like an imperative, like hey, be shocked?
It would be something like look out, kawe maybe.
Kawe,
right?
Surprise.
Or kawete, right?
Right.
Beware or something. I don't know.
So if you were throwing like a surprise birthday party, the poor schmuck walks in the door, you're popping out and you'd yell Kawe?
Maybe, I don't know.
Look out!
But it's as a student of Latin, it's a difficult question.
Yeah,
because the idiom is so different.
It is. I find that kind of stuff endlessly fascinating. I think to really love a language and learn a language, that stuff has to interest you, right?
Yes. Oh, sure.
Right. And so you don't want to you're not just going and thinking, okay, surprise, I'm going in the dictionary. What's the noun for?
Yeah. So the word admiratio could be translated as surprise.
Yeah.
It's a feeling of shock. But you wouldn't put that on a banner,
no,
right? Or shout that at someone, because it's a noun. It's an abstract noun. It's like shouting dignity or something. It's just not going to fit.
Right.
Because what does surprise even mean, so to speak, when you shout it at someone?
Yeah.
It's more like, aha, right? Right. Gotcha, right?
Right. Yeah. No, so I mean, with this kind of thing, I think the Latin is much more precise.
Yeah.
Right? We're just yelling out adjectives and nouns in English.
Right, and we're expecting the listener to fill in all the gaps.
Yes.
And that's fine if you're a native English speaker. You have all those layers of context and years of experience. But if you don't know it, it must be pretty odd.
Very odd.
To have these things, being shouted at you. So let me read just a couple lines of Latin here.
Okay.
So, fore ut prima luce puellulae puellique omnes laeta poletani excita rentur, nec ulla mora ad ludicra crepundiaque accipienda festinardrent. Tum, di immortales, then, good gods, qui sonatus, qui strepitus, qui crepitus, quales stridores fragordresque. So that's trying to capture all of those.
Noise.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and then immortal gods, what sound, what screeching, what clanking, quales stridores fragoresque.
Yeah. See, now that's as a kind of a teaching tool, that's really helpful.
It's brilliant.
Right? You're
Yeah.
learning all these different names for different kinds of noises.
Yes.
Whereas Seuss is just saying noise.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So score one for the Tunbergs?
I think so, definitely.
All right.
Yes.
Well, Jeff, we're kind of up against it here.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more to this
What,
book.
are there 40 more pages?
This is right. So what we do, maybe 4 or 5 pages here.
Yes, we did. We can maybe come back to it. But after the break, we're gonna go a little bit further afield,
Yes.
right?
Right. We're going to talk about a number of different books that have been translated to Latin.
Yes.
And review them, perhaps.
Right.
And,
But before we get there, I'd like to read a little bit here at the back of my edition about the translation.
Yeah.
Now, I think we've talked before that I'm blessed to know Terence Tunberg, not a close friend, but a good acquaintance.
Where are
He's
the
at the University of Kentucky.
Okay.
Yep, and he's just such a wonderful man, brilliant Latinist
And
as well.
that university has a kind of a well-known Latin
It does. That's
colloquia,
right. I'm trying to remember the Latin name for it. Well, the colloquium is the Conventiculum Lexingtoniense, right? Mm-hmm. The Lexington Conventiculum. It's been held many summers for many, many years. But Tunberg and other fine Latinists, Milena Minkova, they have a very well-known MA in Latin where you can learn to speak Latin like he does and like she does.
Yeah.
But here from the back of the book, Jennifer and Terence Tunberg considered it a creative challenge to render in another language the flawless and seemingly effortless verbal pyrotechnics Theodor Geisel achieved in English.
So they saw this. Hey, it was a gauntlet thrown down.
Yeah, they know this is tough.
Yep.
The rich resources of both the Latin language and its tradition down to present times made the challenge particularly welcome to them. Their goal was to produce, whenever possible, effects in Latin equivalent to Seuss English. So recognition that he's got his own particular idiom,
Yes.
right? Their translation is in rhythmic prose, sprinkled liberally with rhyme, repetition, alliteration, colloquialisms, and wordplay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, should we go to the break?
Let's go to the break.
All right.
This episode of Ad Nauseam brought to you by Hackett Publishing. For almost 50 years now, Hackett Publishing, based in Indianapolis, Indiana, and Cambridge, Massachusetts, have been bringing affordable, approachable, digestible translations of the classics. Digestible. Like,
Okay.
You give me this funny
Why
look.
am I looking at you like that?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Affordable, approachable, digestible
translations
of the classics.
Of the classics, as well as many other works from all over the different corners of the humanities.
That's correct.
And I can't say enough about them. Mm-hmm. I have a number of translations in my own library. As we've talked many times, I love the artwork.
Yes.
Very clever.
You've got one in your glove box.
I do.
In case of emergency.
Yes,
Pull Ovid.
I have Lombardo's Metamorphoses.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You never know if you're going to be stranded in a snowbank, a blustery Michigan evening.
That's right.
Right? And your last moments, what are you going to do? I went a little grim there, didn't I?
You did.
You're going to pull Ovid out of the glove box.
Exactly.
And set it on fire with your cigarette lighter? No.
Right.
You're going to read it.
I tossed out the survival kit.
That's right.
And I replaced it with the tome of Ovid.
I think in our, speaking of tomes, I think in our glove box we have one of those foil blankets
Oh, yeah.
that you could either wrap around yourself or use to bake a potato. You know that one?
Right, yeah.
But what I should have in the glove box is a copy of Ovid.
Yeah, exactly. So get rid of that blanket.
Okay.
Get rid of those two russet potatoes you have in there.
I got an assortment of straws, too. You have straws in your glove box?
I don't.
Okay.
No, I could use some, though.
You could use some straws.
Yeah.
And put a copy of Ovid in there. Maybe the Lombardo translation?
Or the Ambrose.
Or are you telling me that Hackett has two different translations
They
of
do.
the same classic text?
Yeah, it's one of the things I love about this company is that they, many publishing houses that do similar kinds of things, they'll have one translator for
Yeah,
one
that's
work,
right.
and they're moving on.
We got Plato down. That's it.
Boom, let's go.
No, but not Hackett. They've got multiple excellent, affordable, beautiful translations of each author.
Yes. So, listener, go to hackettpublishing.com, 2 T's in Hackett. Find the text that you want. You're going to be there a while because they've got so much to look at. But once you find it, you put your choices into the little grocery satchel.
Yes, the grocery satchel.
And then what do they type in the coupon code?
Well, when you get to the checkout with your little grocery cart with a wobbly wheel,
Yes.
you type in AN, which
Yeah.
is ad nauseum, then you type in 2021.
2021.
AN 2021. We'll put it right up on the screen here. And what does that get the listener, Jeff?
That gets them 2 things. They get 20% off
Really?
their entire order and free shipping.
That's incredible. Check it out. This episode is also brought to you by the Moss Method. Jeff, tell us about the Moss Method.
I'm not the guy to tell you about the Moss method. I was going to ask you.
Well, why didn't you then? You left it to me.
Yeah, what is the Moss method?
The Moss Method is a system that I have developed, a method, you might say, to help you, the listener, the reader, who wants to learn ancient Greek, go from
neophyte
to erudite.
Erudite, yes.
That's correct. Can you hold up the mug again?
Yes, I'm going to do that. Put
As
it
you
right
can
in
see
front
here, it is self-paced, expert, and accessible. Maybe you have been told that Greek is hard. Oh, ancient Greek is so difficult. I could never read Plato. Maybe not in that plaintive voice.
That whiny voice.
I don't know.
Not me.
No, the New Testament's too hard. No, it's really not. What you need is a way to approach it. You need someone with experience and a real love for the language. I think I'm both of those things.
I think so.
And go to mossmethod.com. Check out the many free instructional videos I have on how to learn Greek. And then if you like it, sign up for the course. It's $299. And I teach you everything, not just the lexemes and the syntax and the semantics and the grammar, but it's fun.
And a couple things I've heard is one is the students that you start reading Greek right away.
That's right, the very first day.
Very first day. And there's opportunities for students to get together digitally and to consult with you.
That's correct. On every Friday, we have the Moss Method office hours, the Moffus hours, if you will. You like that?
I do like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And during the Moffus hours, we talk about anything Greek that you'd like. So last week we had 3 folks get together. Sometimes we have even more from all over the world. We talked a little bit about the Gospel of Mark for most of the hour. We've looked at Aeschylus before, some Homer, some Plato. It's really quite a smorgasbord.
That sounds great. Do this. They go to mossmethod.com.
Mossmethod.com, just like it sounds, and sign up.
Sounds great. Check it
All
out.
right.
And this episode also brought to you by Ratio Coffee. Ratio Coffee, based in Portland, Oregon, is I understand it. Mark Helwig.
That's correct.
And his crack expert coffee team
That's
out
right.
there. They've done it.
They have. Mark is a devotee of the classics and just an incredible entrepreneur. He said, why should it be the case that in this era of premium coffee, why has the home coffee machine lagged behind? Not only in aesthetics, right? They're kind of ugly.
Yes.
But also in the quality of the brew they produce.
Right. And so he solved both of these problems.
He did.
Yep.
He came up with the Ratio 8, a slick, modern-looking machine. I have one at home on my countertop. It's oyster in color with walnut accents. And also the Ratio 6, which you have.
I do. It's a beautiful machine. I have the stainless steel.
Right.
It's sleek looking. It's attractive. It's a pour over.
Yes.
Machine, as is the 8, right?
Yeah, so it's an automatic pour over. If you've been to one of these froofy coffee shops where they line up all the carafes, then they have the little cone, and then you have a barista there, and they're pouring the hot water carefully into the cone, and you're waiting for it to trickle down, right? Well, that's fine if you want to do that, but wouldn't it be much better to make it at home?
It is.
Yes.
And now it's possible.
It is.
Right.
And a press of a button, you go from the the bloom stage.
Yes.
To the brew stage.
Yes.
To the ready stage.
It's ready. Just like that.
And it handles all of the details for you.
That's right. So now we have a contest.
We do. We have a special promo.
Right, and we're extending this for a few more weeks.
That's correct.
And if the listener hangs in there till the end of the episode, sometime in the second half, they're going to hear a code.
We're going to drop the secret 4-digit code. And if you take this code to Ratio Coffee, RATIO coffee.com/ANCO, you can enter this special code and you can be entered into the sweepstakes to win your own Ratio 6.
Yes, so stay tuned.
That's right.
Stay tuned. But if you want to go shopping at ratiocoffee.com, they can pick up a 6 or an 8.
Yes.
And type in the code ANCO.
That's right. Ad nauseum coffee.
And they get 15% off.
15% off an incredible coffee maker. It's won many awards. It's been in Wired magazine. I understand Gwyneth Paltrow. You know Gwyneth Paltrow?
Of course I know who
from Goop.
Goop, yes.
That's right. I think she was in those Marvel movies.
Yes.
She's purchased some of those.
She has?
Yes.
Wow.
They're really making a big splash.
Man.
A lot of different. So if you want to be like Gwyneth, Jeff, you are like Gwyneth. What am I saying?
I am kind of a little bit like Gwyneth.
You're a little bit Gwyneth.
Who was she in the Marvel? She was like Pepper Pants or something?
No, Pepper Potts.
Potts, sorry.
I think.
Yes.
Coffee Potts, something like that.
Right. So Gwyneth's got herself a ratio. Okay.
Yeah, she does.
There you go.
So go to ratiocoffee.com. Check it out. All right, so Jeff, as we get back into it this evening, we're going to be looking at Catus Petasatus.
Is that where we're going to start up on part 2 here?
Yes,
okay.
Well, we really should say catus because I'm always laboriously telling my students it's never in Latin, it's always
Yes, right. Well, it's hard as a Midwesterner.
It is.
Catus.
Yes, what do you pick from the tree?
Pick from the tree.
Apples.
Oh, that's right, apples.
As a Midwesterner, you have to shove that A way up in your nasal sinus,
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
What's the plan?
It's very uncomfortable.
I apologize to the audience right now.
Yes. What else do we say in Michigan? Fur.
Fur.
What's that fur?
What's that fur? Right. Exactly. And we also kind of will swallow our teeth. That's not very important.
Important?
Yeah.
We put it down in the somewhere in the larynx, very glottal.
That's so interesting.
Are we supposed to say important?
Important.
It's important to pick the apple.
The apple
from the tree. Okay, so Catus Petasatus.
Yes, right.
So this is the famous Cat in the Hat in Latin. Can I read a little bit of the the subtitle here?
Yeah.
Okay, qui libellus est ad doctora Seuss, primo Anglicae compositus. Sound familiar?
Yes, it's exactly the same.
It's verbatim as what we saw on The Grinch. Yeah. And at nunc quod vix credas in sermonem Latinum a Gonevera Tunberg et Terentio Tunberg conversus.
Well, it's the Tunbergs again.
It is.
Yeah.
And boy, did they hit this one out of the park.
All right. Well, let's. You want to read a little bit
Yes,
here?
I think that we should.
Okay.
You want to read a little bit of the first page there?
So, imber totum diem fluit. Urceatum semper pluit, taedat intus nos manera numquam post sol splendera.
That's right.
So now here,
yes,
they've kept the ambex and they're rhyming it.
Yeah, what do we have here? Imber totum diem pluit. So it's 4 iambs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Each line has 8 syllables. Urceatum semper pluit, taedat intus nos manera. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the storm Imber flooded the whole day.
So it was raining all that day, right?
That's right.
I'm sorry we don't have the English here, but
never apologize to the listener.
No.
No.
That's right. Okay. Well,
I'm sorry. Actually, it's always apologize to the listener.
We don't have the English translation, and I don't care.
Right. Yeah, there you go. I love this adverb, urceatum.
Okay, what is that?
It's an adverb that means coming down in buckets, bucketly.
Bucketly.
Bucketly, like a bucket.
So it was raining.
Cats
it was always
dogs.
raining cats and dogs. There we go.
That's right.
Right.
Taedat intus nos manera. It really stunk that we were stuck inside. Numquam potest sol splendera.
The sun is never able to shine.
Yeah, the sun could never shine.
Oh, that's great.
Page 2?
Yeah, go ahead. Take
All
some.
right. Decides quae sixidemus, nec redemus, nec gaudemus, fora finem quia scendi, mihi space est et sedendi.
Oh, I love the rhyming here. I love the kind of the alliteration, kind of the forifinem.
They nailed it, right?
Sixidemos.
So lazily decides, so we sat. We didn't laugh. Nec redemus, nec gaudemus. We weren't happy. Fora finem quia scendi. It was my hope that there would be an
end of the boredom.
Yeah, goofing around,
just
sitting around, end of the sitting around. So quia scendi et sedendi. We got 2 gerunds there.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to take the next stanza?
Frigus vetat foras ira, caelum vetat lasci vira, domi sumus quiescentes nil omnino facientes.
Yes.
That's just fun to read.
It is.
You don't have to know Latin to enjoy that.
The cold, the frigus, prevented us from going outdoors. The sky, right, forbade any sense of, I don't know, having a good time.
Yeah.
Lasci vira. Domi sumus. We were stuck at home with nothing to do. And so we did nothing at all.
We did nothing at all, right?
Yep.
Now, note there, just kind of compared to what we do with the Grinch there, our English translation is much more teased out.
Yep.
It's much longer to unpack these very short, compact lines.
Definitely. Definitely.
Illustrates the same thing from the other way around. Yeah.
And it's a brilliant book. So I would say, unlike How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Latin in here is still sophisticated, but it is more approachable. Mm-hmm. And there's a nice vocabulary at the back. Now, as I mentioned earlier, as you know how I like to drop names.
Yes.
Terence Tunberg, good acquaintance. Maybe we have him on at some point. I don't know if he would hang around with such bums as us.
Really?
He's such a learned man.
Would he just kind of brush us off?
I don't know. He might, right? He's such a learned man. And Jennifer as well, right? The two of them put this together nicely. So what else are we going to look at this evening, Jeff?
Well, we got to go to the what maybe is kind of the black sheep of the family here.
Yeah.
And again, I don't speak from personal experience, but just doing the little research I did, it seems that this translation of Tolkien's Hobbit has ruffled a lot of feathers out there.
I see you've written down here in our notes lots of anger directed toward this one. Are you talking about me or the?
Oh, just kind of the tenor that I found out there, like in just reviews on like Amazon or blog sites. This is not a very popular one.
Okay.
Right.
Read some of that anonymous review, would you?
This reader wrote, after a second look at the few pages shown, I must strongly advise not to read this horrible barbaric translation.
Tell us what you really think, right?
A more serious Latinist may just laugh or feel offended a bit, but to a beginner, it may be seriously dangerous.
Yeah.
So not just bad Latin, it's going to lead you down a dark path.
That's correct.
Right. Maybe to be tempted by that one ring that the Tolkien.
Oh, I get it now. Sorry. One bad translation to rule them all.
Exactly.
In the darkness bind them.
Now you got it. You got it. Right. So, I mean, one thing I have a problem with, and this is the same with Winnie Ille Pu, is that the use of that demonstrative, right?
I think we can justify it with Winnie Ille Pu.
We can.
I think so. Now, your overall point, I'm with you 100%.
All right.
But I think with the Winnie Ille Pu, because it's like Alexander Ille Magnus, it doesn't mean it means the well-known, the famous.
Or even that one over there.
Correct.
Yes.
So with Winnie Ille Pu, I'm with it. Alexander Ille Magnus. But Hobbitus Ille? No.
Right. Yeah. And even kind of putting it after the Hobbitus seems like it's
very odd.
It's a try-hard.
I think that Ille Hobbitus would have been okay. It'd have been better. Still not okay.
Yeah.
But better.
So it's more along the lines of, it would be like, that famous Hobbit.
Right.
That well-known Hobbit.
What was the subtitle of The Hobbit?
Or There and Back Again.
There and Back Again.
Yes.
Now that would have been, of course, easy for me to armchair, Monday morning quarterback it, because I didn't translate it and sell it and so forth. And this fellow, Mark Walker, did, so more power to him. But a better way to entitle it may have been There and Back Again.
I think, to be fair to Mr. Walker, I think in his...
I don't want to be fair to Mr. Walker.
I do.
All
Let me
right.
just plead his case. In his title, he does have a Latin translation, like the out... there and back again, return, going out and returning. So he has it there, but I don't like Hobbitus Ille. I mean, if I was doing, I would just simply call it Hobbitus.
That'd be okay.
However you're going to render that.
Well, compare it to what the Seusses did with Laetuli, right, in Laetopoli Florentes.
Yeah.
There is a very Latinate phrase that captures the idea.
Right, exactly right. And so a lot of the complaints that I read too is just that it seemed that Mr. Walker just doesn't know his Latin very well. And it was more like going through a dictionary and picking, that word means whole.
Yes.
So I'll use the first one that pops up.
Yeah, so let's look at that.
All right. So the book famously starts out, in a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit.
Yeah.
And which he translates, in foramen terrae habitabat Hobbitus.
Okay.
Right? And so his choice for the word for hole is the foramen. Foramen.
Right. Which is a hole that you make with a boring instrument. It's something you would drill in a board.
Right.
right?
And as we all know, hobbits live in kind of little caves.
That's correct.
Right. Not in something that you drill with your...
No. With your Makita and a 3/8 inch bit.
There you go.
Right?
There you go. Right.
So, it's just really a bad way. The very second word of the translation already indicates to me he doesn't live in a drilled spot in a piece of wood. It's a lurking spot. So something like Latebrai.
Latebrai would be better.
Yeah, what did the the anonymous...
I think this guy goes on and on about for the foramen. And I don't we have time to go through all this, but he suggests maybe Cawum. Something that close to like a cave.
Empty spot. Antrum.
Right. Yeah.
We had Spelunca for the Grinch, right? A Spelunca tenebrosa.
Right.
From his shadowy cavern. So that doesn't quite capture the notion that it's a warm and cozy place for the little hobbit.
Right.
Whereas Latebrai, my suggestion, does.
Right.
It's like your lair.
Right? It'd be interesting to see what word he uses, like when the Hobbit, when Bilbo gets to the Lonely Mountain and Smaug's lair.
Yeah.
Like what the word there. I mean,
hopefully Latebrai.
Hopefully, right.
That's the net. I haven't read the whole work.
Yeah.
Or even very much of it. Only heard lots of criticisms of it.
Yeah. So we'll let the listener decide for himself, but that one comes with a lot of baggages.
Yes. What's the next one?
I also out there again. I can't vouch for it, but where the wild things are. It's been translated as ubi fera sunt, where the wild beasts are.
So ferdra is a neuter plural, right? So it is a good translation of the word things. But since these are creatures, unless you're really after the notion that they are not characters. If you're after that notion, you can say ferdra as, inanimate, impersonal, non-thinking, non-acting.
Yeah.
But ferai, like ferai bestiae, wild creatures, I think is arguably a little better. Now, once again, I'm not Rick LaFleur, so it's easy to armchair quarterback it.
Right.
But I do wonder why a neuter plural for ferai here.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like I found a couple of quotes from the Latin text, and it seems like he's trying to kind of follow Maurice Sendak's style, kind of short and compact. Mater eus appellavet ferum. His mother called him wild thing. Right. Et Maximus. That's nice for Max.
Okay.
Dixit comedum te. I will eat you up.
Right.
And then this later selection where this is where Max is leaving the wild things and sailing back home. Terribilis fremitus fremibant et frendebant dentis terribiles, volvebant oculus terribiles terribilisque unguis monstrabant. I mean, that's got a rhythm to it.
Yeah,
right.
They give him some props there.
Right. So they let out terrible roars and they showed their terrible teeth and they rolled their terrible eyes and they showed their terrible claws.
Yeah.
Right. So. Yeah,
a little repetitive, but I guess the original is
repetitive as well, right?
So we move on from there, and we're going to look at very very quickly the two Harry Potter books. I think only the first two have been put into Latin.
Yes,
and these are Harrius Potter et Philosophy Lapis,
right?
And the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, I understand that the original, I'm not a Potterite. Are you a Potterite?
Yeah, I've read them all with my kids, yep.
The original is the Philosopher's Stone, right?
The English.
In the English, the British edition.
Yes.
So that's why it's translated Philosophy Lapis.
Right.
The American is the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yes.
So you could have used something like magi, the genitive of magus.
Yes.
A wizard, but I think philosophy is really nice.
Yeah.
Now, this was translated by Peter Needham. Now, I don't know Peter Needham, but I have his email address.
Oh, yeah. Maybe a guess.
Because we have a mutual friend, and Puer qui vixit is how it begins.
The boy who lived.
Yeah, or the boy who died.
Oh boy, right.
Actually,
in the Rowling text, it's he lived. Yeah,
yeah, but I'm saying vixit, means to die.
Right.
The perfect of vivo, has lived, is how you say that someone is dead.
Right. So the famous episode with Cicero, right, coming out and announcing after they killed the conspirators, vixirunt.
That's right.
They have lived. They're dead.
They're dead.
Right.
So that's a bit of an odd choice.
Okay.
A bit of an odd choice, but on the whole, the Latin in here is phenomenal.
So the boy who lived. I mean, that's a phrase that pops up a lot in this book. So how would you have done that in Latin? What would you think would be a better rendering of?
Well,
that?
I would probably use an adjective, something like vivus. Right?
Vivus.
The boy who was still alive. Or maybe even redivivus. I got to check my quantities there. I can't remember if it's a redivivus, redivivus, or redivivus.
Doesn't that suggest he was dead and
came back to life?
Come back to life.
But isn't that really the idea?
Well,
Voldemort. Oh, sorry, the institution that shall not be mentioned. failed to kill him.
He did, but I think it's kind of the full death and resurrection thing comes at the very end of the seventh book. But here he was just Voldemort failed to kill him.
Okay, well, you keep talking because I want to check the quantity of this particular word. I don't want to mess it up here on air.
Okay, you want to be precise.
Of course, you know me.
So one of the things I wonder about these kinds of books. This is, hats off to Mr. Needham.
Yes.
It just the accomplishment of this task in and of itself, in what I take to be fairly accurate, very erudite Latin, is a feat in and of itself. But who's reading this?
A lot of people.
You think so?
Okay, let me rephrase that. Who's buying it?
Who's buying it?
A lot of people. Who's reading it? Not very many people.
Right. This was given to me as a gift,
Yep.
and I've used it when back when I taught Latin. I used for examples, for something fun in class.
Sure.
But it's
snippets.
Otherwise, it's sat on my shelf.
Okay, I've read it.
Oh, you have.
I've read all of the first one. I haven't read it in English. I've read it in Latin.
In Latin, right?
I haven't read all of the second one in Latin.
Okay.
But Peter Needham, I'd like to meet him.
We're back to Seuss.
Yeah, sorry. It's a redivivus.
Redivivus. Okay.
Yes, to survive death.
Okay.
So that's it.
That'd be better.
It seems to me.
Yeah, right. Puer qui vixit is the boy who died.
Yeah, who has lived.
Who has
finished living.
Right. So that's
There probably are instances where vixit can mean survived. Mm-hmm. But my first sense was yours. As Cicero says, vixerunt. They have lived. They're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
But I imagine that this book is also filled with lots of neologisms.
Well, some tough ones, like right on the cover.
Right on the front, we have
Homoxosticus.
Homoxosticus rapidus is the Hogwarts, is the express train.
Yes, Homoxosticus is a very good word for train.
Is this like a collection of wagons stuck together?
Yes, it's a word of Greek origin.
Yes.
Right? And you have to do that sometimes because it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. So the Homoxosticus rapidus Hogwartensis.
Right.
The Hogwarts Express rapid cart wagon thing.
Okay, you got it. Now from our friend Justin Bailey.
Yes, Justin Bailey. Again,
a fine Latinist.
Is he a fine Latinist?
He is a very good Latinist.
He wrote about this book on the website Eidolon. Mm-hmm. He wrote, "Never before had I lapped up Latin by the double digits of pages per day. Actual full pages of Latin, uncramped by notes in another language on vocabulary, manuscripts, history, and other things that are often worthwhile and sometimes essential, but also distract from the Latin text. A much adapted dictum about pleasure reading claims that there's no such thing as kids who don't like to read, only ones who haven't found the right book. I already like to read Latin, but Harrius Potter was a gateway text for me, leading to regular, sustained sessions reading authors of all eras."
Yeah, well said.
Right.
And that's what Hobbitus Ille was trying to do. But,
yes.
I think Needham, maybe better material, starting material.
Maybe.
Better than Tolkien. No one's going to go for that.
No, probably not.
No. But good material.
Very good material, right? So I guess I probably Needham would read that and say, but yes, it's exactly what I was going for. It's like, a gateway drug to the heavier stuff.
Yeah, should we read just maybe the opening sentence in Latin here? We got the book
here. Yeah.
Dominus et Domina Dursley, qui vivebant in aedibus gestationis, ligustrorum numero quatuor signatis, non sine superbia dicebant se rationa ordinaria vivendi, uti neque se panetere Ilias rationis.
And so in Rowling's text, Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal, thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange or mysterious because they just didn't hold with such nonsense.
Yeah. Well, that's actually 2 sentences in Latin, right?
Yep.
Get down to the ineptias tales, the nonsense.
The nonsense, yeah.
Needham's done a very nice job with this translation.
Yeah.
There's a companion volume, right? There is Harrius Potter et Camara Secretorum.
Yes.
Chamber of Secrets.
Needham again?
Yes.
Does he have kind of the contract for the whole
he does.
series? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is, of course, the Camara, the chamber, Secretorum. Secrets, you could have said something like Arcanorum, hidden things, or Mysteriorum, perhaps.
Right. I think I often thought in doing this kind of thing just like for fun, I try to avoid kind of the obvious cognate.
Oh, you have to avoid the derivatives altogether, for sure. Go with a mondegreen, right?
Yeah, mondegreen. Yes.
I died in the barn tonight. In your barn tonight. But seriously, it could be that he didn't get to pick the title, right? Someone said, look, we know it's not the best Latin, but it looks like Chamber of Secrets. It's going to sell more.
We're going to run with that.
Yes,
yeah.
that's entirely likely.
Right, so he had to cave.
That's right, he had to cave.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Moving on then, what do we have next?
We got to move on. Let's see. I got to find my notes here. Winnie Ille Pu.
Yep.
Which, in looking that over, I didn't realize that came out in 1960.
It's been around a long time.
And it was a bestseller for 20 weeks on the list.
A. Milne, right?
Yep.
And translated by Alexander Leonard.
And apparently this was a massive seller. But again, 1960, probably back in the day where
more people reading Latin.
Many more people were having Latin
That's
as
right.
kind of their expected part of their education, right?
Shall we hear the title of the first chapter?
Yeah, what do we got there?
We have Quoen capita nobis ostentantur Winnie Ille Pu atque apes non nullae et incipiunt fabulae.
There's some bees about.
Yes. This is good Latin. In which chapter we are shown nobis ostentantur, we are shown Winnie the Pooh and some bees, apes non nullae, and the stories begin.
I gotta admit, it doesn't grab me. It's like, here's a story. There's some bees.
But have you ever enjoyed Winnie the Pooh?
No, I never did.
I haven't either. It's a little too Curious Georgie for me.
It's a lot of sighing and oh bother.
Right, and a lot of Eeyore traipsing around.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the action?
Yeah, and Tigger just tamp it down a bit.
Yeah, I want Winnie the Pooh coming down with like a red shield that looks like a kind of a snow saucer, and maybe a cape and a hammer and something. You catching my drift?
Yeah.
Or maybe Winnie turns green if he eats too much honey and starts smashing through the 100-acre forest.
You want a little bit more action?
I do want some action.
Exactly.
It's a little too dull.
Yeah, not much happens, right? In this chapter 1, what happens? There's some bees.
Some bees. Have we alienated all the audience now? Here's some excellent Latin, though. Let me just read. Nomen audiens primum sicut vos dictur restis etiam ego dixi. Listening to the first name as though you were about to say it, I also said, credidi eum puerum esse. I believed that he was a boy. It's good Latin.
It's good Latin.
It's well put together. It's very idiomatic. The phrasing and the word order, the syntax, it's very good Latin.
Very cool. Next up, we have Alicia intera mirabili. And then you have the text there, too.
I do. Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Jeff, you have a story behind
well,
this text, right?
I found this, or it was sent to me, and I thought, this would be fun to use as kind of a secondary Friday afternoon text in Latin and in a second year Latin course. It did not work very well for me. It was more, I think, because what I discovered was my students just didn't know the story that well. It's just not as still out there in the vernacular as I thought it might be.
It's kind of like Shakespeare, right?
A little bit.
Everybody knows about Shakespeare, and you know certain words and phrases, like going down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
And this is not Jabberwocky, is it?
No, it's same author, different
right,
thing.
Okay.
And then people know
but they don't really know the plot.
Right. They know about the Cheshire Cat and
Right.
his grin stays there, but they don't know the story very well. So,
Yes.
So I was excited about it because it was a story that I grew up and read many times and loved. But my students said, "Oh yeah, kind of know
whatever."
that." So it did not work very well as an in-class text.
So this is 1964, St. Martin's Press. So same as the Winnie Ille Pu, maybe inspired by the success of Apes non nullae.
Possibly.
Some bees. Let me read the title page. Ludovici Carroll, liber notissimus primum abhinc annis centum editus, alicia interra mirabili latine reditus, habeus fautora vetera gratoque, Clive Harcourt Carruthers. So he translated it.
Yes.
Right. A very well-known book, Liber Notissimus, published almost 100 years ago, it says, and now translated into Latin by Carruthers.
How did they render? Was it Ludovicus for Lewis?
That's Lewis. Yeah.
Lewis. Okay.
And that's pretty standard.
Okay.
Yeah, that exists in very old texts. Ludovicus.
Hey, we got to move along because we're running out of time, aren't we?
I think what we're going to have to do, sadly, is we're just going to have to cut back here. We went too long with the Laetopoli. The Laetuli and Laetopoli Florentes at the beginning.
I think it was worth it. It was worth it, but we're gonna have to do
I think we're gonna have to do a follow-up episode
at some point. Yeah,
we have to at least tell the audience who Walter Canis Inflatus is.
Who's that?
It's Walter the. Can I say it on air?
Of course you can.
Walter the farting dog. That's Walter Canis Inflatus.
So that one made the cut,
That, so to speak.
And you have it in the pile.
Well,
there,
it's
right?
not that it made the cut. It's that we said earlier in the episode that we would tell them what it meant.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so it's not that I want to deal with it now, so to speak. But so William Cotswinkle and Glenn Murray, Walter Canis Inflatus, Picturis ab Audrey Colman Collatis, in Sermonum Latinum ab Roberto Dobbin Conversus.
Well, a lot of people involved in this.
A lot, yeah, and the dog. So Bob Dobbin.
Bob Dobbin.
Roberto Dobbin, Robert Dobbin, or Bob Dobbin, as I
Dobbin.
like to call him,
Yep.
translated it in Sermonum Latinum into the Latin language.
So there you go. Walter Canas Inflatus. Right.
So I guess Charlotte's Web and Arbor Alma and The Eggs Are Green, The Ham is Green, and one that I authored.
What, you wrote a book?
Oh, yeah.
What have we got here?
Well, let's put it up on the screen. Here.
right.
Trace Mures Kaiki.
There we go. Three Blind Mice.
Three Blind Mice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to deal with these in another episode.
We will. I'd love to hear the story behind that.
All right.
And how that came to be.
Yeah.
And we can. I'd love to think about what books are out there that should be translated into Latin. Right?
Yes, I've given that some thought, as have a lot of other people, of course.
Sure.
And there's a definitely some good questions.
Excellent. But we got to get out of here. All right. So, listeners, as always, we'd love to have you give us a nice review.
Yes.
On whatever platform you listen on. That really
Send us an email.
Send us an email. Dave@adnauseam.com. Don't forget the V.
Or Jeff@adnauseam.com. Remember that V, ad Navseam, you might say.
Yes, but if you want to shout out, if you got an idea, leave a review. That really helps us out.
That's right.
And we love it.
And we need to say some thank yous as well.
Yes.
We want to thank our sound engineer.
Yep. Mishka
puts this together so nicely.
As always, yeah. We want to thank Agricola.
Our video guy.
Yep. To Ken Tamplin and Scott Vincent for the great music.
And this week, Mr. Jeff Sheets.
Mr. Jeff Sheets, yes.
Yeah, guitarist extraordinaire from the Kansas City area. Who's
Fabulous.
Providing some wonderful themed seasonal music for us.
Yes. And Dave, what we got going on next week?
Well, I think we're going to talk about Lord Elgin
Yes.
and the Parthenon sculptures. And you're going to helm this one, right?
I'm very excited about that. Just finished a wonderful book on this whole controversy. And
it's going to get down to fisticuffs?
I don't think so.
I'm going to say, I think the British should keep them. And you're going to say, no way. No way.
Okay, it might come to fisticuffs. I think
Okay.
that's going to split along. But I learned a lot more about this guy's story. And it's changed my views in some ways.
So you developed a little bit of sympathy for Lord Elgin?
Yes and no.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that next time.
All right. That'll be episode number 70.
Whoa, man.
Yeah, the Septuagesimal episode.
Where does the time go?
Right. And Jeff, I believe you have our dessert this evening,
Yes.
don't you? The gustatory parting shot.
Yes, this comes from humorist P.J. O'Rourke, who said, "A fruit is a vegetable with looks and money. Plus, if you let fruit rot, it turns into wine, something Brussels sprouts never do." Good stuff.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks a lot.